Hello, good evening, and welcome to Read with Chide, day 42. I can't believe we're already on day 42. Weren't we just on day 29? How are we already on day 42? Oh, well, that's how consistency works, yeah? Okay, getting right into it. Tonight we are reading Leviticus chapter 11 and chapter 12. As you join me, please do not hesitate to share the link with your friends and loved ones. Share it on WhatsApp, Instagram, everywhere you have a following. Let as many people as possible join us as we read the Bible together. Um, so chapters 11 and 12. Chapter 11 is a long read, and chapter 12 is a short one. So we have about maybe a 10-minute read. But I think chapter 11 is very interesting because I can see I marked and marked so many things. Why? I don't even remember what's in this chapter 11 from my previous read, but we're about to read it again, and I'm excited for Leviticus. Okay, getting right into it. Welcome. As you're joining, please drop a comment if you can so that I can know who are tuned in and I can say hi and welcome you properly. Yeah. So, getting right into it, Leviticus chapter 11, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and said and to Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever pertaineth to the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud, among the beasts that shall ye eat. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he chewed the cud, but divided not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the coney, because he chewed the cud, but divided not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the hare, because he chewed the cud, but divided not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the swine, though he divide the hoof and he be cloven footed, yet he cheweth not the cord, he is unclean to you. And of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch, they are unclean to you. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, and in the rivers, them shall ye eat. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you. They shall be even an abomination unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, but ye shall have their carcasses in abomination. Whatsoever hath not fins nor scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination unto you. And these are they which ye shall have in abomination among the fowls. They shall not be eaten. They shall not be eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle, the ossifrage, and the osprey, and the vulture, and the kite among his kind, every raven after his kind, and the owl, and the night hawk, and the cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind, and the little owl, and the cormorant, and the great owl, and the swan, and the pelican, and the eagle, and the stork, and the heron after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat, all fowls that creep going upon all fours, shall be an abomination unto you. Yet these ye may eat of every flying creeping thing that goeth upon all fours, which have legs above their feet to leap withal upon the earth. Even these of them ye may eat: the locust after his kind, and the bald locust after his kind, and the beetle after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind. And all other flying creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you. And for these ye shall be unclean. Whosoever toucheth the carcass of them shall be unclean until the even. And whosoever beareth aught of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the even. The carcasses of every beast which divideth the hoof and is not cloven footed, nor cheweth the cord are unclean unto you. Whoso toucheth their carcass shall be unclean until the even. And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the even. They are unclean unto you. These also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth, the weasel, and the mouse, and the tortoise after his kind, and the ferret, and the chameleon, and the lizard, and the snail, and the mole. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Whosoever doth touch them, when they be dead, shall be unclean until the even. And upon whatsoever any of them, when they are dead, doth fall, it shall be unclean, whether it be any vessel of wood, or raiment, or skin, or sack, whatsoever vessel it be, wherein any work is done, it must be put into water, and it shall be unclean until the even, so it shall be cleansed. And every earthen vessel whereinto any of them fall, whatsoever it is, shall be unclean, and ye shall break it. Of all meat which may be eaten, that on which such water cometh shall be unclean, and all that drink meat that may be drunk in every such vessel shall be unclean. And everything whereupon any part of their carcass falleth shall be unclean, whether it be oven or ranges of pots, they shall be broken down, for they are unclean, and shall be unclean unto you. Nevertheless, a fountain or pit wherein there is plenty of water shall be clean. So if it falls into a whole fountain, then that does not become unclean. It is clean. But that which touches their carcass shall be unclean. And if any part of their carcass falleth upon any sowing seed, which is to be sown, it shall be unclean. But if any water be upon the seed, and any part of their carcass falleth thereon, it shall be unclean unto you. And if any beast of which ye may eat die, and he that toucheth the carcass thereof shall be unclean unto the evening. And he that eateth of the carcass of it shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the even. He also shall that beareth the carcass of it shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the even. And every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth shall be an abomination, it shall not be eaten. Whatsoever goeth upon the belly, and whatsoever goeth upon all fours, or whatsoever hath more feet among all creeping things that creep upon the earth, them shall ye not eat, for they are an abomination. Ye shall not make yourselves abominable with any creeping thing that creepeth, neither shall ye make yourselves unclean with them, that ye should be defiled thereby. For I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and ye shall be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall ye defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. For I am the Lord that bringeth you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. Ye shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. This is the law of the beasts and of the fowl, and of every living thing that moveth in the waters, and of every creature that creepeth upon the earth, to make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the beasts that may be eaten and the beasts that may not be eaten. Leviticus chapter 12, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman hath conceived seed, and born a man child, then she shall be unclean 7 days. According to the days of the separation of her infirmity shall she be unclean. And in the 8th day of the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. And in the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. And it shall then continue, and she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 3 and 30 days, making 40 days in all. She shall touch no hallowed thing, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying be fulfilled. But if she bear a male child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as in her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 60 days. 66 days. Plus, plus 14 days. That's what? 80 days. Double the time. Verse 6. And when the days of her purifying are fulfilled for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring a lamb of the first year for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation unto the priest, who shall offer it before the Lord and make an atonement for her, and she shall be cleansed from the issue of her blood. This is law for her that hath borne a male or female. And if she be not able to bring a lamb, then she shall bring two turtles or two young pigeons, the one for the burnt offering and the other for a sin offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for her, and she shall be clean. That is our reading for tonight. But we still have a lot of time, so I want to do a quick study of what is happening here in Leviticus chapter 11 and 12. Why exactly, these rules were given, because many of these rules today are not being adhered to even by Christians, right? Christians eat some of these things that were stated not to be eaten. For example, if you think, oh, I don't eat pigs, I don't, but do you eat seafood? Every seafood you eat, it do have scales and fins, because I know we eat inside seafood. There is usually squid, octopus, all of those things. According to this, they are not to be eaten. So I want to understand the idea behind them and why we have now put them aside. So this article I'm opening hmm, is referring to them as the law of performances and of ordinances. But I'm looking at the authors, and maybe that's not the best place for me to go. Um, okay, let me see this Harvard review. Oh no, where's the better place to go? Um, this enduring word commentary should help. Um, so it says here, after 10 chapters of laws dealing with priests and sacrifices, God is here. We come to the laws which touch the ordinary and everyday life of the people. God is interested in every detail of their lives. He issues his commands as to what they may eat and what they may not eat. Even in the days of Noah, there was a distinction between clean and unclean animals, but this may have been only been for the purpose of sacrifice. Still, there was an early basis for these laws that God gave to the children of Israel. The reasons for the dietary laws are not clearly presented and may have suggested reasons, and many have suggested the reasons. The suggested reasons fall into several categories: symbolic, ethical, aesthetic, hygienic, morphological, and theological criteria. Now, I've always, this is me now. I've always thought that many of those laws were just basic hygienic things, because these guys were weird and, symbolic, and yeah, symbolic and hygienic mostly. But let's see what they have to say here. So, from all these, the purpose of these dietary laws can be summarized in 3 points. The dietary laws gave the Israelites an opportunity to demonstrate obedience to God, right? Overall, God's intent was to make Israel a holy nation, separate from other nations, obedient to God, not only to their bellies, just as the first law God gave to humanity had to do with what could and could not be eaten. So these laws were given to Israel as a test for their obedience and separation to God. So, in summary, consecration, because in consecration it's not necessarily about good or bad, it's just about obedience, right? And separation. Number two, the dietary laws give the Israelites an opportunity to demonstrate obedience to God overall. God's intent was to make Israel. No, that's what I just read. Sorry. Number two, the dietary laws separated the Israelites from their Gentile pagan neighbors. This limited the true fellowship and connection as obedient Israelites could have with the surrounding people who did not worship or obey Yahweh. As well, some of these animals declared unclean for eating were animals that were idolized in pagan religions. That's another thing. So, for example, remember the law about marking your body for the dead? it was specifically given to them because they were in the territory of people who used to do those type of rituals, right? When people die, they will mark their bodies in honor of the dead and stuff like that. And God specifically gave them that law because you are among them. I don't want you to be doing what they are doing, right? So even today, there are some things that may not be bad in themselves, but you will choose not to do because you know that the people around you who identify as unbelievers do these things as their norm. Recently, a friend of mine was speaking to me about how, you know, overly accessorizing is a thing that used to be identified mostly with, unbelievers, but now a lot of believers are taking it on. Sometimes these things in themselves are not bad, but as a matter of consecration, as a matter of separation, you need to be careful to know where to draw the line. Back to what we're reading. Um, Next, the dietary laws helped to protect the health of the Jewish people. Many diseases and problems were prevented by obedience to these dietary laws. Next, this understanding is attacked based on the thinking that if this was the case, then it makes no sense for God to allow the eating of these animals under the new covenant. Right? However, it is reasonable to think that in more than 1,500 years from the time of the giving of the law of Moses to the first century church, there was a better understanding of what made some meats dangerous and other meats safe, right? So at the end of the day, God cares for us and He takes care of us. He would meet you at your point of understanding, right? Next, it is also reasonable to think that by protecting the health of the Jewish nation through dietary laws, God ensured the continuation and prosperity of His covenant people. These people were super important because remember, at this point, Jesus had not come, but this was the lineage through which Jesus will come. So they were important. Like, of course, we are important in Christ, but you get my point. God had to take care of them, especially like you people. If I leave you, you will go and do whatever you like and kill yourselves. Remember when Moses brought them out of Egypt? Any small thing, they'll be like, didn't we have garlic and whatnot in Egypt? We could have remained slaves there and died there and be buried in graves. This one you brought us to the wilderness to die. Their lives didn't really mean much to them, to be honest. Now, among all the animals that are on earth, the dietary laws began with the animals most commonly eaten, mammals that are on land. For these animals, the rules were simple. Among the animals, whatever divides the hoof, having cloven feet, cloven hooves, and chewing the cud, that you may eat. If an animal had a divided hoof and chewed its cud, it could be eaten. Right? Excuse me. Here, many animals are mentioned that fit one requirement: chew the cud or the other, but not both. Additionally, the swine has a divided hoof, but it does not chew the cud, so it is considered non-kosher. The Hebrew term used here refers to the wild pig. This animal is singled out perhaps because swine were considered especially offensive and to be avoided at all costs. It is now known that the pig in the immediate host is the immediate host for several parasitic organisms, some of which can result in tapeworm infestation. One of these worms, the Tenia solium, grows to about 2.5 meters in length and is found in poorly cooked pork. So again, you see that there was a lot of God just protecting His people. Um, then he goes on to talk about the water animals um, that were an abomination, that were not to be eaten. Okay, on this principle, most fishes were considered clean, except a fish like the catfish, because it does not have scales. Shellfish would be unclean because clams, crabs, oysters, and lobsters all do not have fins and scales. Under these dietary laws given to Israel, they are to be regarded as an abomination and could not be eaten. So, thank God for Jesus. Thank God for life. Because catfish. Anyway, if God told me to stop eating catfish today, I'll stop eating it for consecration fish. Yeah, so basically I think all the sections whether around the same thing dealt with under animals, and I hope that was helpful. I think it was helpful for me to understand a bit better why God was saying they should not eat these things. And just one more source. So my Bible is a Spurgeon study Bible, so it has commentary. So the commentary here talks about the first thing that came to mind when I was reading it, the chapter 11 says The Mosaic law attached great importance to meats and drinks. The Christian religion attaches none, right? Because Jesus said it is not what goes into the mouth that defiles a man, it is what comes out of his mouth, right? So it goes on to say the Apostle Peter was shown by the vision of a sheet let down from heaven. This is what I said came to mind while I was reading. A sheet let down from heaven, not only that all nations were now to receive the gospel message, but that all kinds of food were now clean, and all the prohibitions which had formerly been laid on them for legal purposes were now once and for all withdrawn. Acts 10. A Christian may, if he pleases, put himself under restrictions as to these matters. The Apostle Paul wrote, I know and am persuaded by the Lord Jesus that there is nothing unclean of itself. You understand? There is nothing unclean of itself, but to him that esteemeth anything to be unclean, to him it is unclean. This is in Romans 14. Romans 14:14. The doctrine of the New Testament is expressly laid down. For every creature of God is good and nothing to be refused if it be received with thanksgiving. That's 1 Timothy 4:4. In the example of Paul, we have full liberty. He would he would put no embargo on the conscience, but in his example, we have also fervent charity. He would put no stumbling block in his brother's way, right? It is not wrong for you to eat it, but if it would be a stumbling block for your brother to see you eating it, then do not eat it for your brother to see, or for his sake, don't eat it. Says, if meat make my brother to offend, I will eat no flesh while the world standeth. So for the sake of my brother, so he will not stumble because of me. I would rather even become a vegetarian. That's 1 Corinthians 8:13. Finally, we feel persuaded that we will not exaggerate the uses of the text if we show that there was something instructive to us and something typical of the better covenant in the command that the people were to eat no creatures but those which divided the hoof and those which chewed the cud. These restrictions of meat were laid down to keep the Jews as a distinct people, and that therein they might be a type of the people of God, who are also throughout all ages to be a distinct and separate people, not of the world, even as Christ was not of the world. The distinction drawn between clean and unclean animals was also intended by God to keep his people always conscious that they were in the neighborhood of sin. God bless the reading of his word. I think this gives even clearer context and highlights the things that I was thinking of while we read. So yeah, please drop your comments and your thoughts as you watch this around what you think about the food restrictions and all of that. I'd like to know what you think. Yeah, I think I had a lovely time reading today's scriptures. Tomorrow morning we continue. We will read day 43 in the morning and day 44 in the evening. We are catching up. Thank you for joining me this evening. Please, if you're watching the replay, do well to drop your comments, your thoughts, your questions, all of that, so we can study together. And do well to share this link with your friends so that they will also read the Bible with us. Thank you once again. Have a lovely, lovely night. Good night. Toodles.